What if a seemingly innocent purchase turned your life into a nightmare? Imagine buying a simple piece of furniture for your kids, only to discover it carried a dark, malevolent force capable of terrorizing your entire family. This is not just a ghost story. This is the true and chilling tale of the haunted bunk beds of Horicon, Wisconsin. By the end of this story, you may never look at secondhand furniture the same way again. Stay tuned until the end of this video, where we'll reveal whether our previous story, the cryptic cult of Cartham Manor, is based on real events or purely fictional. The year was 1987. Alan and Debbie Tallman had just moved into their new home in the quiet town of Horicon, Wisconsin. They were an ordinary family with 3 young children, excited to start fresh in their cozy suburban house. Life was simple and good, but little did they know that their peaceful existence was about to be shattered. One day, the couple decided to buy a set of bunk beds for their 2 daughters. They found the perfect set at a secondhand store. It was sturdy, affordable, and seemed to be exactly what they needed. With no second thoughts, they brought it home, assembled it, and placed it in the children's bedroom. At the time, it seemed like just another piece of furniture. But this wasn't just any bunk bed. The first few weeks after the bunk beds arrived were uneventful. The Tallman were settling into their new routine. But then, small, strange things started happening. At first, it was easy to dismiss. Lights in the house began flickering for no apparent reason. The radio would suddenly switch stations on its own. Alan and Debbie thought it was just electrical issues or maybe a malfunctioning appliance. But the disturbances didn't stop. Doors began opening and closing by themselves. At night, the children's toys would move from one side of the room to the other, as if an unseen force had been playing with them. The youngest child complained of hearing voices whispering her name. She begged her parents to let her sleep in their room, saying she was scared of the bunk beds. At first, Alan and Debbie brushed off their children's fears as nightmares or overactive imaginations. But when they started experiencing unexplainable phenomena themselves, they realized something was very wrong. One night, Alan came home late from work. As he entered the house, he was startled to hear a low, guttural voice growl his name. He froze in his tracks, his heart pounding. Slowly, he searched the house, but no one was there. Shaking it off as fatigue, he went to bed. But the experiences only became more terrifying. The family's dog began acting strangely. Normally playful and friendly, the dog would now growl and bark at empty corners of the house. It refused to go near the children's room where the bunk beds were. The atmosphere in the house grew heavy, as if an unseen presence was always watching. One evening, Debbie was putting the children to bed when she noticed a glowing red light emanating from behind the bunk beds. She approached cautiously, but as soon as she got close, the light vanished. That same night, the children woke up screaming. They claimed to have seen a hideous figure standing at the foot of their beds, staring at them with glowing red eyes. The family began to live in constant fear. Every night brought new horrors. Objects would move on their own. Disembodied voices echoed through the house, and shadowy figures appeared in the corners of their vision. The Tallman were living a nightmare they couldn't escape. The final straw came on a cold winter night. Alan had been working late and was exhausted when he finally got home. As he climbed into bed, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Suddenly, a mist began to form in the room. It wasn't just any mist. It was thick, unnatural, and glowing faintly. Alan watched in horror as the mist began to take shape. It formed into a grotesque figure towering over the bed. Its eyes burned with an otherworldly light as it reached out toward him. Paralyzed with fear, Alan could only watch as the figure dissolved into the air. He bolted out of bed, ran to the children's room, and found them huddled together, crying. They told him the same figure had appeared in their room, standing near the bunk beds. The family couldn't take it anymore. They called their pastor, who performed a blessing on the house. But instead of calming things down, the activity intensified. The bunk beds seemed to be the epicenter of the paranormal events. The family was now certain that the beds were cursed. Desperate to save their family, Alan and Debbie decided to get rid of the bunk beds. They dismantled them and took them to the town dump, leaving them in the landfill. As soon as the bunk beds were removed from the house, the disturbances stopped. It was as if a dark cloud had been lifted. The home was quiet once more, and the oppressive energy was gone. The Tallmen were finally able to sleep peacefully for the first time in months. But the experience had left them deeply shaken. They had gone from a normal, happy family to the victims of a terrifying haunting, all because of a second-hand set of bunk beds. News of the Tallmen ordeal spread quickly. The story of the haunted bunk beds became a local legend, drawing the attention of paranormal investigators and curious onlookers. Some people believed the story wholeheartedly, while others dismissed it as a hoax. But for the Tallmen family, the events were all too real. To this day, the haunted bunk beds of Horicon remain one of the most chilling cases of a cursed object. The family never sought fame or fortune from their story. They simply wanted to move on and put the nightmare behind them. The tale of the haunted bunk beds is a stark reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects can hold the darkest secrets. Could it have been a restless spirit attached to the beds? Or was it something even more sinister? Whatever the truth may be, the story leaves us with an unsettling question. How much do we really know about the things we bring into our homes? If this story gave you chills, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales of the supernatural. What do you think about the story of the haunted bunk beds of Horicon, Wisconsin? Is it true or fictional? Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll reveal the truth in our next video. The story of the cryptic cult of Cartham Manor is not true due to the lack of historical evidence, no verifiable records of the Cartham family or cult, and the absence of credible investigations or reports. Claims of strange disappearances, rituals, and supernatural occurrences are based on hearsay and fiction, with no physical proof to back them up. The narrative follows common horror tropes and is entirely fictional.